Hello and a warm Collisions YYC. Welcome to my guest today, Mr. Jeff Parry. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, good. Tyler, how you doing?
Good, man. What is happening? Okay, we were joking offline. How do I introduce you? You're like, just call me Jeff, Tyler. That's a good start.
That's it.
You're in the promotions business? I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, I guess the entertainment business, really, it's really misunderstood. I've been a promoter, producer, had a record label, all this kind of stuff. So kind of done jack of all trades, master of none, as I say. Doing it 45 years.
Wow, that's legit.
Almost got it figured out, but not all of it.
Still not sure what you want to be when you grow up? Yeah, right.
No, I don't. Well, I'm never going to grow up, so there's not a problem.
Yeah, whoa. Don't make threatening statements. It's too early in the call.
Exactly.
Your team, your organization behind the Van Gogh exhibit that I think a lot of Calgarians had the opportunity to attend.
Yeah, that was the pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to me, which is pretty weird, and that's true.
In the event business, yeah, that is actually.
Yeah, it's something that. Well, I said I've been doing this for a long time, and pandemic hit. I got just finished coming out of one of my downturns, which almost put me down, fourth or fifth one, and luckily when that hit, I just was coming out of it. I had a couple of projects that paid the bills and got me back on my feet, and then the pandemic hit, and I thought, okay, well maybe 70 now. When was that? 4 years ago. So if I have got a sort of, if this thing's going to go on, got to go with the pasture. It's okay. And then I started noticing, this Van Gogh exhibit. I don't know anything about art. Literally, I ran to the Louvre in 20 minutes. My wife will tell you. I thought Van Gogh was a car rental company.
Okay.
That's also, that's sort of not the truth, but
it works. Sorry, there was if there was a drum beat or a laugh track at the end, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, I'm the furthest thing from an art lover that you can imagine. But I saw this thing in Toronto. This could take a while if you want to hear it, but it's kind of interesting.
Well, give us a quick, for sure. We got time.
This Van Gogh immersive show is in Toronto, the Toronto Star Building, and the guy there who was putting it on when the pandemic was at its worst, people could actually drive through with their cars. The windows, and then I said, well, what is this thing? And then I looked at it further, and there was one in Paris, which was like the the original, and it was one in Montreal. I'm going, I don't understand this, but people are going to it. So I said, well, this is something that can be done through stages in the pandemic, maybe, and nothing else is going to go on, because you could put it in a room and have 25 people to 200 people. You could, based on what the constraints were of the pandemic, you could limit the capacity of people being there, and something you could. So, anyways, I found this company out of Australia that had one, and I didn't understand how this worked, because usually there's one Beatles, there's one Rolling Stones, and in this case there was a lot of different Van Goghs, and I was going to use theirs, and they became bring it to Calgary actually. So, anyways, the deal with them is problematic. A friend of mine, Jeff Parry, who's one of the biggest entertainment agents in the country, was doing one in Winnipeg. And I said I was having trouble with this guy in Australia. I said, why don't we do our own? But I had no clue how to put together something like this. And I thought there'd be like huge royalties or, encumbrances to try to I've been trying to I've worked with the Beatles music for 20 odd years. I know what that's all about, and Zeppelin's music and so on and so forth. And, to try to get rights and all that is not easy. So I assumed this had the same situation. But when I looked into it, I found, 70 years after death, it's public domain. So
interesting.
Mr. Van Gogh has no rights, which means anybody can do it. You can go do it this afternoon if you want to go do it. You can just. So I thought, well, that's interesting. So where do you get the stuff? So you go online, you go to the Getty whatever was archives, and buy them for like not much, the images. And then this company out of Montreal, who we'd used for our video production on all our shows, that had been to Broadway, etc., got a hold of them and said, hey, do you guys know how to do this? What is this? And they said, yeah, we're working on one with someone else, and they dropped it, and yeah, we can put this together for you. So awesome. For not very much, we paid them to do all this, and literally I was up in Invermere, and my other partners were in Winnipeg, and we would get bits through our laptops to look at things and see how it was going, and okay, it's like whatever. Looks like a show here. So we basically put together like it's 35-minute, 40-minute clip. And again, my partner in Winnipeg had another aspect of his company run by his son Justin that was in the exhibition business, because we had no clue to do these, and they were wanting to go gung ho on this thing. And to make a real long story short, we opened it in Miami, and I thought, Miami, oh, that's really going to go well. It's Hispanic. What do they know about art? We ended up doing 150,000 people there. It was like, what? So
what? We might be onto something.
yeah, well, yeah, and then we eventually got to Calgary. But we ended up doing about I don't know, 60, 70 markets, all of which a lot of them did that same number, and it was like a manna from heaven because we had to buy all the equipment, and that was kind of capital intense, but it all paid for itself. It was like just cash flow itself like crazy. And to the point now, my daughter's actually running. I've got an operation in the UK. I did a show in the West End there and had to incorporate over there. And my daughter's over there coincidentally, and blah blah blah. And so she's running it over there for us right now. And we're doing 4 or 5 markets a year in the UK with this show, and now Monet. So yeah, so that was I will say accidental, but a reinvention that you were literally kind of fumbling your way through to get there. And is in all 40 some years, 45 years of doing this, is it always that same, like the big risk? You got to believe in the dream. You got to put the capital up front. Like, is putting on like the business that you're in, is it always got that kind of heat on it? Yeah, more so. I mean, it's you capitalize a. Yeah, I mean, that's people don't understand. They think you're a promoter. Oh yeah, you get to hang out with the bands, you do this and that, and you say, well, listen, I got to put up like $100,000 for this act. I got to pay for the rent of the building, the advertising, the stagehands, the blah blah blah. But I mean, the expenses are a laundry list long.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if I don't sell enough tickets, those expenses are mine, and the offset of the revenue doesn't cover it, then I'm in the hole. So it's very speculative business, and it's gotten really stupid now, actually, with like Live Nation. It's unfortunate because it's really becoming a monopoly, which they should break up because it's Live Nation and Ticketmaster. But there used to be a bunch of us independent promoters out there, and there's literally 2 or 3 left in Canada.
Oh, really? Like so many industries. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been gobbled up. So that's inflated the prices because because Live Nation owns Ticketmaster, they own the revenue from the ticketing side. They can give more to the artist. And a guy like me that doesn't participate like that is up the creek. So that's why I determined a while ago that I didn't want to be in the promoting game of artists so much, and I wanted to create my own thing. So we got more into theater as a result. So we started creating theatrical shows where I can own the show. And the good thing is, someone once said about if you're a promoter and you bring an act in and it doesn't work well, they're gone the next day, and your troubles, assuming you can pay the bills, are over. But when you build a show, you can spend like right now. We're working on a show with Foreigner for 15 years. We're going through our 3rd iteration of writing, et cetera, and put a bunch of money into it. And, it can open the next day on Broadway, we're not going to do Broadway. And, 10 or 15 years of work can be over in like half an hour. And,
wow, yeah.
Yeah, and the guys lose like $20 million in that, like to capitalize a show now on Broadway is like, $20 million. So.
Oh, wow. That puts it into perspective. Hey, moving from bringing an act in to getting into theater, does that put you more into quote unquote the arts? Back to yourself earlier, like, I'm not an art guy. I didn't know that. Does that bring you into a different, and we'll kind of get into just different provinces, Canada, what it's like to work in the arts space. And I know that's a pretty broad statement.
I'm a carpetbagger. I'm not into arts, first of all. Okay. So I've done everything. I've done everything.
Good use of the word carpetbagger, by the way. Half my audience is like, what the hell is a carpetbagger?
Yeah, no, I'm an opportunist carpetbagger. I mean, I've done everything from,
nice.
Bill Cosby, which, 50 shows, he wasn't like that then, or maybe I didn't see it, to, Dora the Explorer, to Rita McNeil, to Puppetry the Penis, which was my big show before.
Nice.
And I mean, literally, I got into that and I went to New York to this thing. A guy says, you got to come see the show. I said, what a freak show is this? And I don't know if you know what that show is. This guy's doing dick tricks, right?
I do.
It's basically rugby guys, got invented with rugby guys in Australia fooling around with their having beers. But anyways, but I went to the theater and I looked around. There was all these regular people looking at it, like guys on dates with women. I went, you're kidding. It's got this kind of demographic. So example for that, not to the same extent. I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I ended up being the North American promoter of Puppetry the Penis. My wife was so proud. And
that is a proud family moment, Jeff. Come on.
Well, except that she said, don't bother auditioning.
Oh, well, I'm not going to argue with the wife.
Yeah, no. So anyways, the point about art is I never consider myself to be in the art business. I mean, there's a real problem. definition of art, which drives me crazy because there's all these people that support the arts, which is
Yep.
sort of actually something we're going to get to here. That and an arts is perceived as non-for-profit, lovable losers, shouldn't make money, blah 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 blah. So I'm farthest away from the art business, the arts business. You can be. I'm in the business of creating entertainment people want to buy tickets for. So whether it's deemed as art in the end, well, that's beauty in the eye is in the eye of the beholder. But I don't go and try to put together a Michelangelo for the sake of being adored, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
want something that's going to make money. So whatever. And like I said, I've done everything from everything I can possibly think of to when I see an opportunity, it comes out of nowhere. But that's where it comes from. It's being able to recognize that opportunity, I guess. And you're going to be wrong. And also, I guess the other part of it is making sure that you don't hang yourself out to dry. I think that's a big thing because a lot of promoters. I guess the best thing ever happened to me was losing my ass the first bunch of times.
Learning those hard lessons when you could still bounce back from it. Yeah.
Well, but the worst thing is if you made a bunch of money the first time and go, oh, okay, well, I made $5,000 here. Now I'm going to go try and make 50. Well, you're probably, going to go broke because I'd started off making little bits and losing little bits that I could afford, so to speak, rather than hitting a grandiose, home run. And I think that's like any business, make sure you can afford to, pay the bills. And in the entertainment business, you can get really caught up in the entertainment and hanging out with the rock stars and all this kind of crap. And I never really got into that, or I look at it as a business all the time. In fact, being with the musicians was like part of the stuff I liked the least because, I'm not them, they're not me, and I'm not gonna try to be them. Except on some, I've had made some friends out of it. But
Of
yeah,
course,
so
I'm
I
sure.
think,
But yeah, not getting Star Trek to the point of making bad business
yeah, so
decisions.
art's for art, art's for art's sake and money for God's sake. I think that was the line with 10cc, whatever. So, so
Hey,
yeah.
what's your perspective? What's happening in Calgary right now? Arts Commons, Glenbow, Contemporary Calgary, big,
Well, this thing really pisses me off.
some pretty big numbers getting floated around.
This thing really pisses me off why I was wanted to talk to you because I've lobbied for I don't know 15, 20 years to create an infrastructure that would allow theatrical, creative things to be capitalized somewhat well, like the movie business. I don't. Do you know the way the movie business works here?
A little bit, but by all means, I plead ignorance. I learn more.
There's already a a setup where the government, I forget how many tens of millions a year that the Alberta government puts into it, but it pays back. So the bottom line is the reason why you see these movies coming here and Heartland doing what they're doing and Last of Us and all these kind of things, Superman, and maybe that wasn't back in the day, but The Revenant was for sure. But the bottom line is that you can get a rebate of 20, 25, 30% on your Alberta spend when you go cut a movie here. So what that means is, if you buy a broom at Canadian Tire for the thing, fine, you get that. If you use Canadian actors, Alberta actors, I guess, you get your money, and it's a big union thing. They hire a lot of union here, so they get it. But if you bring in like Kevin Costner, for instance, he's American, you're not going to get it back on him. So it forces you to use as much Canadian and spend as much Albertan. I guess
They're incentivizing the behavior,
right? But the simple math of it is, I forget, I used to know it. It's like a 7-to-1 return. So the government puts out $10, they get $70 back in ancillaries like in hotel rooms, like restaurants. It's a simple, already figured out math equation, and it shows itself. So I've created multiple shows here. We I guess where I really wanted. So I said the same thing should be for the theatrical business, but again they're going the arts business. Well, no, I want to create theater. So the first big one we did was Jukebox Hero, the one I've been working on with Foreigner, where we capitalized that for, 1.5 million, I think it was, with my partners, and mounted it in Medicine Hat and then did it in Calgary and Edmonton. Lost our shirts because that's where you start, and then took it to Toronto. Lost more of our shirts, but we used a lot of. Well, I thought we were going to use a lot of Alberta actors. And I was going to prove to the government, okay, we already did this. You're not helping us out. Here's an example. We're just going to do it. We'll show you afterwards, what the benefits of that were. And I've gone to all levels to state my case. And unfortunate thing about that was we hired a LA director and told him what to do, but he had a Rolodex of a bunch of people in Toronto, and basically they don't cast so much anymore. There's a I know this guy can do that. So most of the people were not from, I think it was only a couple from Alberta. So we did that, and fine and dandy. I told the governments what we'd done, and why we want to do more and more. And so the next one I did was We Will Rock You, the Queen musical, and this time I got a Calgary director to put it together, because I knew that, anyways, in this case, I think we had 36 people in the cast and crew, and everybody was from mainly Calgary area, some from Edmonton, and I think one person from Toronto, and yeah, like.
So
Whatever.
basically kind of homegrown from that perspective. And
Yeah, and again, I went to said, look what we did, and we took that for 10 months. We played Madison Square Gardens with that 5 times in their hula theater, like 5,000 people. We toured all over North America, 10 months, employed all these people, came back, said, well, okay, I've done it again. I did it the way, I showed you what we've got. They couldn't give a rat's ass. It was like, I couldn't get any attention whatsoever of like some funding help, like similar to the movie business. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, do the same thing. So, onward, it just continued. And I've since I put together a feasibility study, which I thought Danielle Smith was interested in, because she told a friend who presented different scenarios of economic diversity. She said, well, that one about the entertainment, that could work. And so we did a feasibility study and documented all these things I've talked about, showing the benefits and how it works the rest of the world, and so on and so forth, specifically over in the UK and Quebec, New York, whatever, that they do this, what I'm talking about already. Mm-hmm. And it's proven itself, just like the movie business has here. And it fell on deaf ears once again. And I guess the thing that really rocked me, though, is, so the bottom line is, if they want to create, you can create art or entertainment from the outside in, i.e. put up buildings and all these other kind of things. But yeah. But what are you actually doing internally? How are you furthering the theater community here to build itself up and to create an industry that can tour all over the world and blah blah blah, which is what we do. We've toured all over the world with all our stuff. My biggest one was Let It Be in Rain. I left that out of there, but that's what we did Broadway in the West End with, and Russia and Japan. I've been all over the world with that, but that wasn't, anyways. So that was our big
what do you think? Because obviously you've been leaning in, you're frustrated, you're kind of annoyed, which is fair. What do you think's actually going on? Like,
I know what's going on. So the point is, what I think is, if you can lobby right and you can get in the back pockets of these people, and you can say, oh yeah, we want to spend $600 million at Arts Commons. Well, I think I just looked up yesterday actually to research this. Is 183 million has gone. As of what it looked like yesterday, 80 from the province, 103 from the city. But I thought I'd read it was up to 400 million that had been contributed by both those. But anyways, let's go on 183 million. That's just been greenlit to them. Like, the Flames had to beg, borrow, and steal, and then they end up in the end of the deal, not stealing. Anyways, not stealing, but they ended up getting their best deal they could ever get, way better than one she turned down initially, which is dumb as you can get. But we'll not go on that. So they get sort of, dragged through the mud. Meanwhile, Arts Commons, boom, here you go. Here's like 100, 200.40, like just bang, blank check, no questions asked. When the Flames asked for 400 million, they got 400 million. All of a sudden they get it because it's Arts Commons. They brought a guy in, this Alex fella from New York.
Yeah, Alex Sarian.
Yeah, Alex Sarian. Do you know him?
I do. I had him on the podcast a couple years back when he first came to town.
Yeah, well, not a friend of mine.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
They brought him in because he knew how to. They wanted him for this reason, obviously. And I think he worked at it was either the Kennedy Center or one of those places. I
think it was Lincoln. So I think it was the Lincoln. Oh, I can't remember. Center, right? Yeah, it was the Lincoln Center.
But he knew how to deal the nonprofit world, to basically extract money from governments and sponsors and not worry about running out of any kind of profitability. But it's how you get money. So. He's been brilliant at doing that and succeeded with the right people in his back pocket. I'm not going to say who, but and I think it's wrong that it's pointed out that this is where culture and arts is going to be, whereas it's a building. They put on a lot of the shows. Well, they'll have shows that are entertaining for the people, but what are they creating? From
a broader kind of global impact. Yeah,
zero, and they maintain themselves as being the cult. I read it so many times. Cultural infrastructure. That's a bunch of BS. Like it's building monuments with no sensibility of creating an industry, except for entertaining 5% of the population that can go to these kind of places, right? So there's that. Then there's the Glenbow, which got, I think, 12 million from the city, 40 million from the province, and then the Contemporary Art, which got 40 million bucks. So basically, there's probably been about $500 million of funding going to these places. When if you took 1% of that, right, that would create 1 to 2%, $5 to $10 million a year that could go into some sort of fund, which I'm talking about, which should be used for commercial purposes. You'd have to like state your case, how this thing makes sense. Not I'm going to put a puppet show on in my backyard for my grandmother. No, it's got to be show us the business case, how you can build something here, and what your plan is as a business moving forward. Do you have the connections to get it to Broadway and all these kind of things? And if they took 1 to 2% of that money, they could be world changing. A perfect example, I guess, which I kept referring to, was Cirque du Soleil and Quebec.
Yep.
Without Guy Liberté, I don't know if you know that story at all.
I do. I'm a Montrealer. I grew up in Montreal.
Okay, well,
so yes, I am aware of that. I think everybody in Quebec kind of knows that story.
Well, René Lévesque
bit,
wasn't writing checks like when Guy. I read his. He was just recently on a podcast with Tim Ferriss.
Okay. Oh, he was on Ferriss. Yeah, right on.
Oh, you should listen to that. It's amazing.
Okay, I will actually. I didn't know
he
that.
hardly ever does any of these things. I listened to it twice. It was amazing. Yeah, it's and he basically said, like, if it wasn't for this one small bank, all the other banks turned him down, and I forget that backed him, and the guy had to stick his neck out. And that, to this day, that bank gets all that's where all the Cirque money goes through. If the Quebec government hadn't supported them and Celine Dion, the rest of them.
Well, Quebec is so like there's an entertainment culture in Quebec that is unique to anywhere else. They have their stars, they have their artists, and Quebecers love them.
But it's supported
that's what I mean. Like, and it creates immediately growing up there. You grew up with this Quebec entertainment bubble that you're in, and you just think it's like that everywhere, and it's not.
Yeah. So the company we use, Normal Studios, out of Quebec, we could do it here. They're phenomenal to work with as creators, but also they're getting 25-30% back. The government's like, you're going to take this over to the UK, we'll support it. So there's an example there, and another proven commodity. So I've kept harping on that. I don't have to reinvent any wheels. There's examples of how this succeeds out there, and Quebec is the best example. So guess what? We're taking our stuff and we're getting it created in Quebec. We're taking it to the UK, where we're getting like a 45% return on rebates on what we create over there. New York has got all that going on. So I'm saying, the hell with Calgary. Sorry, I've given it my best shot, Alberta. But it goes on deaf ears. I mean, the best examples is Tanya Furr, who's the Minister of Culture, came to I had the show Rock the Nation, which I had at the National Music Center for 10 months, which we created all about the history of Canadian music, which should still be there, by the way, instead of a Beatles exhibit. But my friend Andrew Mosker is going that direction, but that's okay. But so she shows up to our thing, and I said to her, so how did you become the Minister of Culture? And she kind of paused it. Well, we got to choose. We wanted when we got there. Oh, yeah. So what's your background and where did you learn about this? She paused again. I met with Alex over at Arts Commons. That was it. I'm going, okay. And I actually talked to her. I said, you got to be kidding. Like, that is who's telling you what culture's all about. So that's an example of politicians get linked up with these folks, and it just goes that way, and no regard for let's create an industry and try to keep our people here, and so I've given up, I hate to say, on this. I mean,
I'm sorry to you. Do we need both? Do we need, like, to your point, just cleave off some of the money to focus on this on top of these monuments, buildings?
Well, we don't need the monuments. People go to buildings. Like, it's proven commodity. You put what's inside the building. For instance, let's go back to the Cavern Club. Like, that was in Liverpool. It was a jazz club, and then they weren't doing any business, and all of a sudden they brought these 4 guys in. And the owner didn't know what the hell hit him, because he said he thought he was bringing jazz in. All of a sudden, these 4 guys from Liverpool started making this noise. Next thing you know, it was lined up around the block for 292 shows before so it's an example of, the Rolling Stones came and played here. I remember at Commonwealth Stadium in when they did come, they played outdoors October, I always remember 5th and 6th. I said, are you out of your mind? It could be like hailing that day. But because the Rolling Stones, people
didn't care.
The point is, if entertainment drives people to these places, they'll go to wherever to see what they want to see. You can't have a building. People don't pay to go see a building. They pay to see what's inside the building, and they've got this bass backwards.
That's interesting. And is it just because it's, again, like you said, there's so many layers of relationships and who's who and who's taking care of who. And also it's just maybe this is the way we've done it and the change. It's easier to just keep going on the path than it is to do something different.
Yeah, it is. But, and again, I've proven ourselves like what we can do. The other two things I did to sort of, I produced both the flood aid and fire aid shows, one in Calgary here for 35,000 people. Remember when that happened?
I do.
Yeah. So I was asked through the mayor kind of to do it. We were going to do it at the Jubilee, and I said, "Let the hell with it. Let's do McMahon Stadium." We put that show together in 6 weeks. I almost, had a heart attack because it was like at about $1 million. Well, that's when I cratered the last time. I had my whole world was falling apart financially on many levels. Luckily, my home life was great, and I got asked to do this, and it just the stress on it was like immense, and so we ended up making $1.2 million for the charity, gave it to the Calgary Foundation and 35,000 people. But I was down on my knees. Like I was literally folding shirts at the end of that going, I don't know, I think I'm almost bankrupt with my own business, but that's the way it goes. And then
that's a lot of roller coasters of 45 years of being in this industry.
Yeah. And we did it in Edmonton too. So I thought, okay, maybe I've done, I can show that we've done philanthropically and it doesn't, I don't seem to have created the cred for people to sit down and go, yeah, let's actually do something here. And so, yeah, I've, like I said, the Van Gogh thing set me up for life and my family up, and it was a lucky break and all that, and continues to do so. And so I just said, I've sort of moved up to Invermere for the most part, and I'm there and actually putting on shows up there again. I didn't think I would, but I found a guy I do yoga with as an engineer, and I said, look, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. I don't want to deal with musicians, but I tell you do all the heavy lifting. So, make a long story short, the town of Invermere, we meet with the mayor all the time. We put on Colin James and Tom Cochran last year, and this year we got Blue Rodeo.
Colin James would be a fun show. I grew up listening to Colin James way back.
Yeah, this year we got Blue Rodeo and Trooper and a bunch of 4 or 5 shows out. They shut down the main street, and people are having a great old time. But it's a buzz. We're also getting good funding from, tell you the truth, tourism in BC.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, what are the other provinces? You talked about Quebec specifically, and what about Ontario? What about BC?
Well, no, BC's funding these events we're doing, so that's more of a tourism-driven thing. Okay. They don't support the creative, the theater. They support movies, but they don't do this. Quebec is the only one that honestly Ontario. I mean, the Mirvishes. If you know who they are, they're the big theater promoters, producers.
I know the name, but that's all I know.
Yeah, they're frustrated as hell because they own these buildings, and it's a funny thing. They had the feds won't pay them any attention, and they're the big boys, and they created they didn't create it, but Come From Away the musical, Newfoundland one. It's phenomenal. Well, that's a Canadian built show. It was actually that's a good example of what can come from the ashes. Like if there was this kind of money, like $500,000 a project. But that show came from Sheridan College. Michael Rubinoff, who was running the theater program there, they actually had one, was workshopping various shows. I don't know if you know what workshopping is. You get students, you get a script, and it's part of the theatrical program, and you work out a show, and it's a workshop, right? So they were doing various ones, and then this couple came to them about this idea for this show about the planes landing in Gander. You know what?
I do. Yeah.
And actually, it's an even better story how that started. Their agent, they went to their agent and said, "Look, we wrote this one show, but what's next?" And he goes, "Well, you should write something about really happened." Like what? Well, it's the 10th anniversary of the landing of the planes in Gander, so 2011, and they're having a reunion there. All the people who are on those planes and the stewardesses and all the people that took them in, they're doing this reunion there. And you should just go hang out in the Delta Hotel, whatever, in the lobby and just ask for stories.
Yeah, learn stories. Yeah.
They sat down and they got all those stories. They were real. And then the music there. And then to make a long story short, then this Michael Rubinoff, they workshopped it at Sheridan College, so humble beginnings, if you will. Bunch of people like the Mirvishes saw it and said, okay, we'll put some money into this. Moved it off to La Jolla Playhouse in San Diego. And next thing you know, it wasn't the next thing. It was a lot of trials. But anyways,
yeah. Well, there's a lot of 5-year overnight success stories in there too,
so
right?
My point is, if there was some funding to help that, which Sheridan College provided that I believe if there was like $500,000, $10 million, whatever, and parcels of $500,000 each, that I guarantee you that there would be another Cirque du Soleil could arise from a place like Alberta, because it's just, you just have to have the right people, not give it away to the wrong people, and create all that. But yeah, so I've I said, washed my hands of Alberta. I said, sorry, you don't want me here. You don't care about this stuff. I've literally, it's been about 15 years that I've banged on doors to state my case here, and nobody's listening. So
Is it also part of just because it's not shiny, it's not tech, it's not the next unicorn. It feels like the arts, which is like, oh, back to your point of, lovable losers and the non-for-profit space. Is it just the wrong mindset around it? Because listening to you talk, it makes a lot of sense. And of course I'm biased because I'm listening to you and you're my source of truth right now.
I just think there's a lot of stupid people. Well, I mean, it's business. It's just like, it's simple. You want to create something and have an identity like Quebec has, or like this Come From Way has, that's more than just oil and gas and all this other stuff, and that it's all right in front of you. Why don't we want to do this? She keeps talking about this, and it just keeps going back to, well, no, let's give the money to Arts Commons. It's like, I guess it's easier to write a check that way and not really look into or listen, why does someone talk to me? I've been around forever and nobody wants to talk to me. Like, I'm the last guy they want to talk to. So it's like, okay, fine.
Well, because you're maybe not towing the narrative that I want. I'm going to go look for the people that fit my biases. I've read that article you shared with me the other day, and man, it was shiny in terms of the amount of money. And these are big numbers that are getting thrown at these three places.
Well, I'll give you an example with this. Okay, this Alex. So when I saw he was coming, Arts Commons used to be Jack Singer. I was there. I did one of the first shows in that place back in. I think I went there when they opened. They had a opening, and they were still in construction. It was a killer thing. I got invited to it. And so it used to be like a real homebody place. They brought a guy in, and you'd sit there and shoot the breeze go up, have a drink with the guy afterwards. It had this whole sort of family type thing. And then I moved away from that. It became like you didn't even know who was running the place anymore, and they wanted just money from, I guess, commercial promoters, and it lost its soul, I guess you could say, right? So I'd sort of not given up on it, but yeah, this just isn't the same. And then this guy's coming to town. I read about him, and I went, okay, maybe I should give it another crack. So I get a hold of him and said, hey, Alex, I just explained what I just explained to you, and I hope you're going to be different. Yeah, you can come in and have a coffee with me anytime, blah, blah, blah. Door's always open. And yeah, there's an article in the Globe Mail about how they're going to be more willing to deal with, commercial promoters and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I said, okay. So the pandemic, we're coming out of the pandemic, and the Jubilee, I guess, the guy who was at the up in Edmonton, Minister of Culture's EA, who I was trying to work on, I said, well, hopefully these things are going to open. Why? We'll open the Jubilee for you. I mean, we're doing well from this Van Gogh stuff, and I'll put a couple of shows in there. And we created the Last Waltz, the band's Last Waltz, and created a kids show called A Dinosaur's Tale. We'll do them in both buildings to try to kickstart them. We put them on. Disaster financially to a degree, and I thought, well, maybe we should do that to the Jack Singer, and Alex. So I got my people to call up. Said, well, maybe we'll do a couple dates there, and they came back with these prices, and I said, what? So I said, this must be for a week. So I called up Alex. Said, Alex, my people just called and got these prices. Is this for a week? No, it's for a day. I said, they're 700% more than I've ever paid before. 700%. Well, the people who are making profit have to support those that don't, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, you're out of your mind. Like the money they want for rent and for the rental system would be like 50% of the ticket price. Like there's nothing left.
I'm assuming that's not the math that goes into how you break apart the ticket dollar amount, right?
I mean, I told you it was. I did the math on it. I went, no, I said, I said, so I'm not sure. I said, this is you trying to work with us. And it's like, forget it. I'm not interested. This is a joke. Yeah, so I'm just saying that it's frustrating when you hear these kind of things, and then people say this, but they don't, mean it. And
the average, and I'll be honest, the average public, you see those numbers, and you're like, oh, that's great. Our city's supporting the arts, and it's really easy to read that article as just the everyday citizen who doesn't really know, and maybe doesn't openly support, or certainly doesn't, you want to be supportive of the arts program, maybe because it's good, but yet you have no idea what it really means. Like I don't know. When I see those numbers, I'm like, oh, hellishly big numbers, but I'm like, well, Arts Commons sounds great, Glenbow sounds great. What I'm hearing you say, which is really the business behind all this, we could take a very different approach and get a different outcome.
How many artists are going to the Glenbow going, I'm going to create some art now? No, it's just like people coming in and seeing whatever's there. Contemporary art, the same thing. I mean, the one I was really wanted to get going was the Grand Theater. Do you know where that is?
I do. Yeah, I've been to many events there. Yeah.
Well, that's one that we approached them and said, this could be a great place because there's no one creating like commercial theater here. Like, the other theater companies, I know them like
Mm-hmm.
Stafford and he's they're doing various things, but not like real commercial shows like I do. And there could be a place that could be like a workshop type of thing and create commercial theater, like a comfortable way, if you will, from the Grand Theater. It's a perfect spot. It also ticks the boxes of, it get people downtown.
Yeah.
So again,
yeah, its location is also, it's a cool building. It's a cool space.
I forgot to tell you my big example of sort of, my friend calls it the silos in this town. Like there's just, the Stampede has an agenda. The convention center downtown has an agenda. Nobody's working together on things. And here's a really good example. So when we started this Van Gogh thing, and I started up a movement called Rise Again, which I thought, and I had a lot of people on it to get things back on their feet after the pandemic. We didn't know when it was going to end, but we had weekly meetings and we talked. I had the hotels involved and a whole bunch of things about how we could, kickstart this thing. And it was a very, neat because we'd actually talk about things. And I said, entertainment was going to bring people back. Like if you could get, people will come back to entertainment will be the first thing that they'll want to come back to if you have the right sort of thing. And so outside of that, this whole Van Gogh thing was coming together. And I said, this should be downtown Calgary. I thought I was going to do 50,000 people, maybe 60,000 people. I didn't think we'd do 150,000. So I lobbied like hell, and I didn't need to do it to try to get the convention center downtown. Well, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but it was like they did everything they could to say, well, no, we couldn't have it here for 3 months. We have a wedding in June and all this kind of stuff. It was like absolutely ridiculous. They told us every reason why we couldn't be there. And I said, yeah. Anyways, at my dime, I didn't want any money. I just said, let's do it there. Let's do it there. And then I noticed in Edmonton that the museums were going to open first through all the coming to the pandemic. And the Edmonton Convention Center, again, they've got that and they've got the Expo Center, the two big convention centers, if you will, up there. And they work together. Like they run by the same bunch. So they could trade things off. And so, okay, we'll move that wedding in June over here so we can have the Van Gogh thing here. Right? So they deemed the Expo Center a museum, so they were able to open earlier with that. So I got all the mayor's EA, and I said, "Hey, why can't we call the convention center, like call it a museum or whatever you want it?" But oh no, we can't do that. We're going to lose our funding. Meanwhile, 150,000 people could have come to downtown Calgary on my dime.
Yeah, you think of the secondary impact that would have had on all the surrounding businesses.
And instead, they turned it into a place. So it was a vaccination hub, right? So I said, yeah, a lot of people went on date night, say, honey, let's go get vaccinated and go for dinner.
It was very romantic, Jeff. Very romantic.
But honestly, it was like the biggest. And then, yeah, very romantic, yeah. So, but it was like that's an example of, and then we ended up having to do it at the BMO Center, which is the only thing available, which didn't really help downtown at all. But it's where we did it, and I tried to do everything I could, but nope, they just didn't want anything to do with it. And they couldn't have cared less. And I thought, I reached out, actually, it's funny, to the Downtown Association. I think his name's Mark Garneau or something like that. He's supposed to, you see him on the news all the time talking. I actually sent him, I thought, okay, because they have you can go to their website and fill in a request of something you want to do, sort of thing. What do you call it? So I thought,
you can submit a proposal or just
so I'm gonna see if they actually read these things. So I actually put in something about the Grand Theater there, my idea, not a reply. Nothing. It's like, here's how we get people to downtown, and nothing. So it's like they talk the talk, but it's just like, yeah. So it's frustrating to see, like I said, in silos, how the city could come together and go, okay, we have this event that should draw 50, 60,000 people. How do we keep it in downtown Calgary, as opposed to, I don't know, we don't care. And that was a real frustrating thing. It didn't hurt me financially or anything, but it was something that could have helped.
Yeah. Is there, always a fan of optimism. Is there a way forward here? Because obviously you're saying, I'm done, you guys. I did my thing, and I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate you coming on to like lay it out. Is there hope? Just to call a spade, Jeff?
No, I don't think so. Because there's nobody else.
I'm not hearing it, man. I'm not hearing it.
Well, you have to find someone like me that's willing to like pound the pavement and has the experience too. I mean, I honestly I hate to say I'm a unicorn, but I got a horn coming out of my head. But no, unless you have someone
maybe two sometimes.
Unless you have someone that gives a shit, I guess, and is
and has the experience to know what's a good idea.
And not just trying to take advantage of the situation, but I honestly don't see it, and I don't think these politicians, if I always said if we could just get like Daniel Smith and a bunch of other people like in a room for one day and just brainstormed,
Just workshop it a bit.
yeah, well, just say, well, this, and that's, do you really want to do this? Yeah, okay. Instead of, I mean, the city gives $10 million to whatever it's called. Her name's Patty Pond that delves it out. But so they give out $10 million that gives out to the non-for-profits. There already is that function, but it's all non-for-profit. Like
these aren't organizations that are developing, to your point, shows viable businesses that can then go around the world and have Calgary as the hub where it started.
So I even said because I was dealing with her with the pandemic. I said, why can't you carve out some of that? Take an investment in one of my shows, and I put together a whole thing of how you could have an ROI on that. They sort of wanted to do it, and they gave me this contract, which is so egregious, it was unbelievable. They would have had a 10 times return on their money had they lent that to me. 10 times. So it could be self-perpetuating fund, but again, they'd rather give it to the guy with holes in his shoes and no socks to put on a puppet show in their backyard because it's non-for-profit, and that's fine. But
to your point, that's the risk of categorization. Like, well, we're a nonprofit, so if we actually do this, that could be a viable business idea. Then we lose our class. It's the institution protecting the sake of the institution, not the outcome it's creating.
No, I think
that gets annoying. I'm a proactive. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I'm like, well, there's a better way. Let's do the better way. It seems so obvious to me, and I don't want to make it trite. But shit, I'm kind of frustrated now, Jeff.
Well, it's easy for me to do it in the UK, like I said, Quebec, and BC, because that's BC for the shows we're doing. But I'm finding people that get it and are willing to help out, but here they don't. Which should be. It goes back to the days you weren't here with Ralph Bucks. I mean, there was this money, and Danielle tried to do it again. He gave $500 to every person way back in the day. It was like
I remember that. When was that? What year was that? I think it was.
Oh hell, that was back in the.
I moved here in 2000, and I seem like I remember it. I don't remember the dollar amount.
No, he wasn't around. He wasn't a premier then, was he?
No, he wasn't. No, or he's just coming up.
I think it was. I think because our kids. I think your kids could get it. I'm going to say early '90s, but it was like, why? And we've got all this dough here, and now that the oil money's it's sitting there. Why not turn it into? They keep saying divest or economic diversity and blah 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 blah. They keep talking the talk. They don't walk the walk. So it's like. It's there, but you need someone that's gonna, So I don't know.
That was Jeff. That was 2006, not that long ago. Yeah, it was a one-time $400 payment paid out to almost 3 million Albertan residents in 2006.
Yeah,
by
what a joke.
Yeah, nicknamed Ralph Bucks after the premier Ralph Bucks. So that's not that long ago actually.
I understand it circulates money through the community. I mean, yeah. The other thing was, I'll tell you.
What you're proposing is very similar. You give it out, and it stimulates people to spend, which then gets the cycle going and puts people's bums in restaurants and so on and so forth. But I really like what you said about, like, so many times you see things in Calgary about, how are you helping put Calgary on the world stage, or how are you making Alberta broader than Alberta, which is kind of what you're talking about as well. Not only bringing dollars back here, you're getting that reputation of, like, if I was somewhere in the UK and I bumped into a show that came from Alberta, it would kind of blow my mind, actually. It would blow my mind.
Look at Lord of the Rings did for New Zealand, for instance, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, it's
totally.
Yeah, so it's a two-sided sword. One is
it was almost not worth going to Dubrovnik after Game of Thrones, because you're like, this place is now a tourist trap. Why am I even coming here? Which is another story, but that put that place on the map like there's no tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like I said, it's proven that way. It's so it's sad. Like I said, it's not only is it an economic impact, but an awareness campaign. I mean, everywhere you go in the world, they go, oh yeah, that's where the Olympics were. Calgary, they still remember that stuff, right?
When was that? 86?
88.
88. That's right. 80. Was it 86? 88. That's right.
I mean, like Liverpool. Oh, that's where the Beatles are from. I mean, it's like,
and
there's no story better than theirs as to what from humble beginnings and what can happen and so on. But yeah, I mean, so I fought it hard because much as they sound, negative. I mean, without small town Alberta and Saskatchewan, I mean, that's where I started, was dragging like hypnotists and Elvis tribute shows through all these small towns, and I didn't realize at the time, but it was like I'd go in and say, okay, I'll give the radio station 10% and rent this hall, and I didn't have any money, so I couldn't put money up front per se. And
everybody was invested in getting it to work.
Well, I guess I came across as straight ahead sort of dude, and if it wasn't for all these smaller towns and learning things to there, and like I said, Saskatchewan and that. So I owe everything to that, and I don't think I would have had that opportunity in Ontario, where I'm from Ottawa originally. So,
I appreciate that. I appreciate your hard realities and your frustrations, and also giving some credit back to, there is still some good things going on here, but when you think about the impact, it feels like a missed opportunity. And of course, I'm hugely biased now because you're my source of truth, and everything you say from a business perspective makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but again, I plead ignorance a little bit.
Yeah.
It's I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you like, hey, let's lay it out. Let's say the brass tacks, and feels like you had something to get off your chest, Jeff.
Well, if this could reach people, that maybe could change things, and who knows, but whatever.
Hey, the point of this podcast is to get people thinking slightly different and go, I never thought about that way. And this is what I love doing the show about. Might not change the world, but if it plants an idea in someone's head and they go, you know what, I'm going to look into this, or maybe there is something we can talk about. Yeah. That's the value of, that's the value of having a good conversation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So it's, whatever. So anyways, but, I think I touched on most of the stuff I want to talk about, but I guess, missed opportunity is probably the best way to sum it up.
Yeah. Well, missed opportunities. Yeah, I'll think about how I'm going to title it so it'll hook it in, and see who I can send it to that may fall on deaf ears. But if nothing else, nothing changes if you're not talking about it.
Yeah, right on.
Jeff, thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for what you do. And I appreciate your okay, I've had it with you guys. I'm throwing in the towel. Yeah, great, very motivational speech. Screw y'all.
Well, sometimes you got to hang yourself up there, and
Hey, man, I tout this fact that I like real conversations. This is pretty real, so I do appreciate you coming on, and appreciate the work you do. And I didn't marry her, but I used to date a girl that was obsessed with Blue Rodeo, so I might find my way out to my way out to Invermere and come to a Blue Rodeo show, man.
July 4th.
Is that what it is? Oh, sweet, that's a good timing.
Hold on, you say
they put on a great show, those guys, man.
Yeah, it'll be cool in downtown and everything like that. Well,
I can picture it with the streets closed down and the whole thing. Yeah, I can picture.
Did you see the documentary?
I haven't watched it. No.
Oh man, it's really, really good.
Okay, you're
Lost Together. We Are Lost Together, I think it's called. Yeah.
Is that what it is? Oh yeah, man.
It's on either Crave right now, or I saw it Prime or something.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna watch that this weekend.
Honestly, it's pretty cool. That's the cool thing about it is I brought him to Invermere in 1989 when they're on the Diamond Mines tour, and so it's kind of cool that in fact I did them all over Western Canada then, I think, and so it's kind of cool. So that's 36 years later, they're coming back, and they were playing inside the rink. Now they're going to be playing outside the rink on the street. So it's kind of a neat.
That's very cool.
We're all still here
together.
That's a
great environment. Invermere's got a cool vibe. That'd be a great place to see a show like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we're calling it Music Town BC there now. They've adopted that, and that's we're trying to turn, and we're actually going to develop a theater program there too, quite frankly. We're calling it Music Town BC, and everyone's behind it.
I've never heard that one. That's good. I like that.
Well, I made it up.
Nice. That's why I haven't heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, but so we're trying to externalize it and internalize it, like get stuff happening from out of there. I got a gal there that's runs a theater program there with kids, and and adults. We want to create some theater there, and who knows, maybe the next, show will come.
Jeff, sounds like you're creating legacy whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I should be settling down here, but whatever.
Let's not get carried. That settling down is overrated, man.
I can only play so much pickleball and golf,
Fair enough. All right, my friend. That was a good chat. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cool, Tyler. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Hey, my pleasure, man.